say, and you now be a tough act to follow. But I know in time we'll find this was no surprise. In that what's crack-a-lackin'? How we doing? How we doing? Watch this time, baby. Lots to go over. Just finishing up running some scans, but I thought I would flip this on live just before it got a bit too late. You can filter through any questions. But I'm just going to finish running scans here, and then we will get on into it. Posted on Twitter, not sure if any of you guys saw it, but I had just said on Twitter last night that there was no point in doing a live stream. It's basically the exact same ideas. Everything was bigger picture swings, and if they hadn't set up or triggered, or if they did trigger, I took the entry but just was sitting in the positions, so there just wasn't a ton to go over yesterday, so decided to take it easy, but we're back at it here today. Hopefully the audio is okay. Golan, Mr. Chris. How's it going? How's it going? Excuse me. I can do a little bit of a review here. I don't have to go through all of this stuff quite yet. But, day trades today. AMD was setting up okay. It just didn't quite break down like I would have liked. Came down and tested this 158s, but I wanted to see it break. It's right in line with the 50-day moving average. And we've got prior support, prior support, prior support. And we got this tight little lower high. So as it was breaking through power bar lows, felt like it was a decent setup. Hard crack in pre-market, zero bounce. And then once we got the pop and then hard crack, I hit it looking for this 158s to roll. And once it started to grind back, just moved on. Was like a 0.6 or 0.7 R, something like that, red on it. And then NVIDIA was the same thing, but this one was like a 0.3 R. Just put on some chase size, super wide risk, but was looking for the same kind of bounce, bounce, bounce breakdown. It's in that same AMD basket, but didn't really amount to much. And then MSTR made up for both of those losses with this 330s breakdown. We got this bear flag breakdown here once 360s bounced and then rolled over, and we got a linear sell bias today. Put some on in pre. We got the pop, short of the opening range breakdown, and then added this was 1R and this was 2R off of highs, and then covered on this first little double bottom higher low. Hard crack, didn't stay heavy, so moved on with the rest. Made about 1R on that one. So between the minus 6R and the minus 3R, and then made 1R on this one. Not the greatest risk reward, just because, like if you recall on that 360s breakdown day, right here. So once you get that breakdown, you get a pull from 364 to 359. So you're shorting 359, risking 364, and it was completely bounceless. So you're risking $5 a share, and 350s is 2-to-1, 345s is 3-to-1, 340 is 4-to-1, 335s is 5-to-1. So it was just a super nice R multiple fader right there all day. So was looking for something like that, and it just didn't happen. You could see once it firmed up, it did roll over a little bit lower, but grinds back all the way back to highs. So happy with the covers, just didn't act like the last time it faded like I would have wanted. Jobby, I started covering that swing today into pieces. I'm down to probably about a third, maybe a little bit more than a third. Definitely covered more than half, but maybe not quite probably about a third left from these leans, scales through those 14s, and then finally getting some covers off there. So really nice short op since that 16s. If you wanted to swing it that whole way and be patient, $3 a share there. I took the 16s into the 14s and then re-hit the 14s into the 12s. Just treated it as two different trades, but locked in about 4R on that one today and still have about 3.5R unrealized. So quite the trade, up about 9 or 10R all said and done. So I could see this going a couple ways. I could trail this to like a 10 or 20 moving average, or I could, whoa, why did my YouTube go error? My Wi-Fi is usually super solid. Yeah, it's still fine. Viewers will experience buffering. Well, that'd be annoying. I don't even know how to fix that. Hopefully the recording's okay. If the live is a bit choppy, hopefully the recording will be okay, but I don't know how to fix that. Where was I? Lost my train of thought. I can't remember. I could go one of a couple ways with the covers on Jobby. Is I could risk giving back unrealized. I've locked in a decent trade already, but I'm still up a decent amount. So if I were to cover over prior day's highs, which has worked since the 26th, that hasn't broken prior day, did right here, it gapped up but failed right away. But it's worked and faded lower. Or I could risk back to my entry in like 1420 and risk break even, which would then give back 100% of my unrealized if it bounces back there tomorrow or in a couple days. I think that would give it the highest odds of continuing lower. I don't love the idea of covering in here if it just gaps up and pushes tomorrow, but I also don't like the idea of giving back all that unrealized. So I think if this breaks prior bar highs tomorrow through those 1320s, I'll probably just lock the rest in. Obviously would have liked to just cover it in the 1270s, but that's not reality. So yeah, I don't really have like, once it starts going against me on these swings, I don't really have the best plans. It's something that I'm kind of trying to work on because emotionally speaking, I don't like giving back 100% of the unrealized. It just doesn't sit well. I internally feel a bit better if I were to cover early and lock in a good gain and see it go lower. Makes me feel a bit better than giving back all of my unrealized and watching it bounce against me. But I don't think there's a right or wrong way. Either way, you're locking in gains, and I'm making like 10R on this trade, but just kind of speaking out loud. And then open, I have some ads there today. I think I had my entry. What day did I buy it? Open. I bought it on the 3rd, so that was yesterday. Okay, so I didn't have the stream on yesterday. I could open up these executions. Let me see here. Open. open entry. There we go. I guess I could make it a bit bigger. But you get the point. Just bought it off the open with size that I was comfortable risking down to 4. Kind of how I go over with how I look at these big picture trends when you're looking at breakouts. This $4 or $5. So 4 was the key, was the plan that I had went over in one of my previous watch lists, that I wanted to see 4 base, and I showed why it was key, dating back all the way to its initial run. And we held it for multiple days, but we had this prior top here in the 5s that's kind of that inflection point. So once we were over 5s, you could have bought into the close, but I chose to buy the next day's week open and bought with a size that I was comfortable risking about 2R off of $4. And then going into today, 5 minute, there we go. So now going into today, there's the daily. So I bought it right here, risking to 4. And now if you look at probably something more like this, where now we have pushed, we've now set a higher low, a higher high, a higher low, and then we broke this lower high to this breakout level. So I felt like adding here and moving risk up to 490s, 480s. I think I had a 480 something stop loss in. So I was risking down towards that level, kind of 490s over under, were these entries. And then this add into close, this 590s is the big picture breakout level. So if I didn't have an entry already, this is an entry spot for me. And I just bought this mobile from my phone. And yeah, put this on, move risk up to low a day, and therefore risking 5. And if this were to continue higher, I'd want to see prior support become resistance. So this one here risking 480s, this one here moving risk up to low a day, and then this one here moving risk up to this 530s higher low. So adding to that winner as it continues to move in my favor. Currently still my average is 550-ish. So I'm still in a great position despite the ads at higher levels, just because the price continues to move in my favor as I pyramid in and move that stop up along the way. So, but this would be the same kind of thing that if this were to come all the way back into 550 tomorrow, I'd probably start to feel a bit uncomfortable. I'm up like 3.5R on this already, and the breakout has just started. So if I don't get a gap and go and start to get like a move like this where we get range expansion where it goes gap to gap to gap, or something like this where it starts to expand, this is ideally what I'd like to see, where it just doesn't go red. But if we were to start to pull back to like 550, yes, I think the key level is as long as it's over 5. But if I get a weak open, I probably get a bit antsy, and I probably lock it in if it starts to fail off the open. Like if we start to break below these afternoon dip lows, I'd probably start to sell just to take the profit. And then if it rebuilds and I get an opening range break, then maybe buy with a 1R risk and use house's money to get back in there. Would probably be the plan there. But in a perfect world, we just gap up and run 650, 680s, and I start to lock into pieces towards $7, $8. And then maybe down the road in a couple days, we get a speed up and get to get another short trade in it again. But the 10 SMA is sitting right around 470. So I think risking towards 5-ish, I think, is probably the right way to stay in the trade for as long as possible. But the way that I've sized into this, I'm basically saying that this needs to work from today if what I want to see is happening. I don't know what's going on with that stream there. It was weird with the connection issue, but it says it's fine now. So yeah, two positions, Jobby and Open. And you can see OPAD since that offering news right over here has zero participation as Open. In fact, relative weakness. And if this loses $4, this prior support could potentially roll over. MSTR, now that dip and caught, probably don't really have much interest. INHD was just a bit illiquid and straight up into that breakout level. So by the time it broke out, the risk reward just didn't make sense, risking like $1.50, $1.70. Yeah, it just didn't make a ton of sense to me to chase that entry all the way up there. So just watched it happen. This one failed, didn't break out like I was hoping. AMD, I'll still keep this one on watch. I cannot believe the bounce on this SPY. Absolutely insane. We got this big gap down and flush, and this little failed follow through setup goes red, makes new lows, and then just steady bid all day long. Makes no sense. Like it pulls from 650 to 630 and then just crazy bidders in this market. So I'll continue to keep AMD and Nvidia. Looks like they've got a bit of relative weakness here to the market, obviously. I think Microsoft is still, yeah, it did start it to bounce, but it's still near its lows while SPY is pushing up. A few other names that hit scan here. NBY. I saw some people mentioning SOGP. I just have no interest in this. The daily bars aren't getting any bigger and the volume is dropping off, so I have no interest in trying to short that. I have more interest in NBY. Volume is starting to pick up a little bit and it's going green, and then really starting to blow off there today. So if that goes red or opening range lows or something like that, I think it's worth a shot. HWH, looking like liquidity trap style. Front side move, pulls back, T+1, buy-ins into close. This could be the last hurrah and then it fizzles out. But if this starts to build sevens, I think that could get going. Lock Doc, what's going on? Jeff liked the idea on Open. I hope you profited on it. More than just the idea. Let me take a peek at the rest of my scans here and see if there's anything else. What's Jamia doing? JMIA. I don't love it. We get kind of this push, clear out, possible lower high, and if it takes out that little 3-day consolidation, loses like 775, could get hit, but don't love it. I'm just trying to be a lot more picky and like Open and Jobby, just size into them. Like Jobby, I think I had like a 3R or 4R risk off the wide risk. Once I sized into highs, it started working really nice. But same thing with Open, just keep sizing into it. The trades that set up over multiple days, I just have a lot more confidence in. I've seen them trade and just try to really maximize those. Then try to take and find opportunities in these subpar names. Like this, like meh. Jaff did take the Open idea. Very nice. Nicely done. Attaboy. AEO continued higher. In Sydney Sweeney we trust. Holy smokes. Remember I was trying to play that breakout right there? Got smacked on the gap down. Why couldn't it have just gapped like this? What else we got? Probably don't really need anything else. I've got NBY as a day trade. I've got Open and Jobby as swing trades. Do I really need anything else? Probably not. And I'm in like a couple group chats, like with pod members and friends and stuff, that we just kind of candidly throw ideas out. Um, and so many people were getting stopped out on open. And I was risking wide enough that like this kept making new lows yesterday, but I wanted to see this hold 4, where I saw this as like a lower high to this level, so I didn't see any proper risk level until $4. Now that we made a higher high, I saw the reason for moving risk up, but so many people just got chopped and stopped out, like especially midday today. Like this, where you make a new high and it slams and then even breaks this prior support and then fails off a VWAP. This is not constructive action, but that's that sub VWAP trap that we've been talking about. So just a bunch of people were getting stopped out on this, so I don't really feel that it's super crowded long. Sure, you have that like whole retail sentiment with the Twitter following and stuff, but in terms of a bunch of my trader friends, it was hard, a hard swing name. Duo. Is that thing gonna break out? Meh. Let's look at some fader names. Wow, despite the market up almost 1% by close, my fader scan is fairly busy. A lot of relative. Wow, ABTC. Wow. Look at that thing. Oh, where's the rest of the daily? Weird. Doesn't show on DAS for some reason. Would you think RR could have a bounce day? Let me take a look. Not really. I think bigger picture wise, I think it's on the back side of the move where it ran straight up into prior resistance. I did short it on that day into that 380s. I remember shorting that parabolic right in here, but I was covering in here. Hell of a fade. But I just think it's tried to bounce. Tried to bounce here, tried to bounce here. So I think you're like it would be fighting the trend, trying to bounce it. You're pulling back into prior resistance. Maybe you get a pop from 250 to 3. Maybe. Let's like I can look into like the intraday action and see if there's any sort of clear. Like even right here, you get this weak open. This is like typical like entry style for me right here, where you get morning pullback, higher lows, breaks over these prior highs right here in the 264s, makes a new high, and then never sees higher. So I don't know. I think getting chopped up on it would be more likely, especially trying to squeeze 50 cents out of it. I think I'd rather just avoid it. It's not super ideal. It'd be more of a discretionary trade. It doesn't really fit criteria. Lock Dock is bagged on Duo. Yeah, if that breaks 280s, maybe it gets another little pop. Who knows? Nothing I'm going to really look to trade. What else we got? No problem, Bass Man. Yeah, fader scan doesn't really have a ton setting up. Look at some recent runners here, see if we got anything. IXHL not doing anything. Tilray, those weeds failed like crazy. Yeah, like up, I think that would be comparable to RR, where it's just limited range, pulls back for a couple days, and then you get like a little bounce today. I don't know. I think that's probably what you would look like in RR, and it just doesn't look super fun to me. Okay, well, that's enough of the scans. Not really picking up a ton other than NBY and HWitch. Let's see what Nate's got on watch, see if he's got anything that I like. What would be really nice on open is if it could just go gap to gap to gap, because you could risk prior day's close if it starts to do something like this. And technically you could add at the close or the open of the next day, ideally the close, and then get rewarded with the gap up. But if it starts to do something like this, you could buy at the close, hold it, 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 and then this is the first time going red. That'd be lovely, but I think that's dreaming. I don't know if it's going to happen. Yeah, the more I look at it, like Nate's comments here, he likes weak opens for a long. Which is why I'm thinking I should risk down to 5 and just take the bigger loss if it happens. Would suck, but I think that's kind of what I have to do if I want to let this winner work. If, like right now, it's gapping up. It closed around $6. Yeah, 590s. So we're up about 20 cents or so right now. So it is gapping up, but if it gaps up in paras, whether it's in pre-market or off the open, I think I'd have to be locking into that strength. Just because if you look at the daily, it has been, yeah, we had a little stutter step day that was enough for me to look at this as a breakout, but 1, 2, 3 days up. It could use a little bit of rest, but selfishly, I'd like it just to go. What was the reason for NBY's run? Why did it? It's an Amex, which is a bit sketchy. Since I've been trading more of these larger caps and swings, I haven't had to borrow shares to short in a little while, and boy is that nice. Why is NBY up? Last week, was it? An 8K filing on the 26th. Yeah, so after hours. Yeah, after hours into the gap. The 8K was about what? Company's board of directors declared a cash dividend of 80 cents per share for the common stock. The special dividend will be payable on September 29th to stockholders on record as of the 15th. So basically, it's people buying this before the 15th so that they get paid out on the dividend. So it probably dumps before the 15th, I would imagine. Where everybody just keeps buying it, buying it, buying it. Buying it for an 80-cent dividend. Meanwhile, you've bought it from $1 to $4 and you're looking to make an 80-cent dividend. Doesn't make any sense. But that's where Edge is. Make money off of stupid. Doesn't Use have the same news as NBY? Does it? That was on the 2nd. So over the weekend, I guess. What is this? 1 second. Just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Let me see here. Let me see. Yeah, one-time special dividend on use of it. Ah, my neck. $1 per share. Yeah, record date will be the 18th, and the payment date is the 25th. So people buying it up into the 18th. Doesn't really make any sense, but have at it, I guess. This one's just not as extended. If it were to start to look like NBY, I wouldn't buy use just because of the dividend. There's no long setup there to me. But if it were to start to run like this, or MBY did pull back pretty hard, and then it ran the next day, which is what U's did today, where it broke out, pulled back, and then maybe it starts to run tomorrow. But yeah, it's not really a setup for me that I'd look to long, but if it were to extend, I'd like to short it. What else? Yeah, so not really a ton on Nate's list. Like, I agree with his open comments, where weak opens I would like to see get bought. But if we gap up and go straight up, like we did, like over here basically, where we had a nice grind day. I could go to a 5-minute or something to show like this, where this is kind of what we did with open today, where it pushed, pulled back midday, and then grind all day. And then it did gap down a little bit in pre-market, but by open, the week open got bought, and then straight up spike, and then a spike tomorrow of like $1, basically, like this one, 490 to 590. So if we were to go from 6 to 7 tomorrow, I think you'd have to lock into something like that, because it would probably pull back. I just think looking for something like this catches people off guard. Now it's more of momentum, where shorts are just looking for it to pull back a little bit more to get a cover, and it just doesn't. So we'll look to trade, Jobby and Open, continue to monitor those. I'll watch AMD and Nvidia as possible relative weakness with the market. Gap up parabolic on NBY, possible first red day. HWH, if that breaks and builds 7, possible breakout. So those would be my plans. What is that? 2 day trade ideas, 2 swing trade ideas, and then 2 large cap ideas. That's plenty. So I think with that being said, we can wrap it up there. Sounds good, peeps. Tomorrow's Friday, and then the weekend, so last day of trading. Take it easy, guys. Thank you, as always, for coming over on my YouTube channel. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Get in where you fit in and make some memories. Peace.